if you are antisocial and lonely, do this. Yesterday I was feeling kind of down because I am antisocial, and I started hitting to this guy, and I like it a lot. To be honest, even things that I didn't totally knew I was, I learned from it. And he was talking about people who had ADHD symptoms, and I realized how most uh internet people have it, and that's why they go, you know, they go on these platforms because having these, this is just a name given, but it makes you less social and more social in other attributes. That's why more and more kids are becoming this way because everybody's stuck into their computer, especially now since they did the COVID stuff. And I generally, Andrew Tate says that, oh, the COVID happened because they just want to laugh out. I generally don't think it was that reason. Um, it could be try to, see how submissive we are, which but yeah, basically, backlash of the effect where everybody now don't trust these people who are in power and nobody wants to obey, and we see in society more and more people disobeying bluntly, which is great, but also could be, trying to either manipulate you through social media, which even backlash even more because through social media, the Andrew Tates and other people came and exposed all the lies. So I don't know what was the experiment, but definitely failed, or it seems like failed bluntly.
Social. You don't really like other people, and that wouldn't be a problem, except you're also lonely. So this is something that I'm hearing happen more and more, where people are lonely, but they don't really like socializing. They don't like hanging out with people. And how do
Yeah.
we actually solve this problem? Because we have an epidemic of loneliness right now. So today what we're going to talk about is what to do if you are both antisocial and lonely. If you crave human connection, but anytime there are humans around, you're like, no, this is annoying. I don't like these people. This is a waste of my time. We're going to
Yeah,
teach you how to fix that problem, okay? So let's understand why social interactions are actually painful.
bro, this guy is
The
really
first
funny.
reason that social interactions are painful is because people suck. To be blunt,
He was saying exactly that on the other video. Like, I like him because I feel like I relate to him a lot, bro. The way he speaks and the way I think is very similar. I'll leave a like, guys. Go go watch his channel, man. I'm sorry, just I started watching yesterday and I already like enjoy a lot.
people are getting worse. Like, I swear to God, people are getting worse. So I've been doing psychiatry. I've been seeing patients since 2000 and what is this, 14, okay? So I've been seeing patients for about 9 years now. And in my professional opinion, people suck more than they used to.
Another thing is like I also came from psychology. I have a master's in psychology, so I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I relate more because these topics is years of my life.
Like, I hate to say it, but it's true. Let's understand a little bit about why, okay? So, first thing is that people's level of tolerance is decreasing. What we're seeing based on the internet is as people use more technology, their capacity to emotion.
Guys, I am here on YouTube today, but I'm gonna alternate days. I'm on YouTube one day, on Rumble the other day. So if you don't see me live in one day, it might be because I didn't go, but check on Rumble too. Check on my Rumble channel. And it's growing. I just literally, yeah, I have posted this video. I literally just look at it and already 54. Like this is grow. Oh no. I put the thumbnail. I'm pretty sure about it. This is horrible. Sorry guys to interrupting the video, but this is not what's it whatsoever. Yes, my workouts and myself taken care of way better with a cool motivational title. It's gonna save, I guess. Takes a while. Rumble takes a while, but also it depends on where you are because when I was living alone in another place, it was way yes. it was way more faster, and YouTube is slower. So it really depends where you at. Yeah, everything is like I created a thumbnail as I just shown you, but this is gonna go for every video, which that's a lot of people can like see the thumbnails. I already saw it, and then it's like different. So I don't know about it. Maybe I'm gonna change, but I don't know.
Emotionally regulate is actually decreasing. As people's capacity to emotionally regulate decreases, what that means is that they get pissy more. They get more mentally.
Yeah, people are becoming more animals, but also extremely antisocial. I see how we. He was talking yesterday about not people are becoming more narcissists. Where, like everybody has to accommodate them, right? And if everybody thinks that way, that everybody has to accommodate me, then it's like, oh, you here? I don't want you here, so I'm gonna start letting you off. But then that person, oh, this other person is here, or your presence is also a disturbance, so I don't want you here. And as you see, if everybody's like that, so diva, then we all isolate each other, basically.
Tuned out, and therefore they're like harder to be around. The second thing that's starting to happen with people is that we're getting radicalized a little bit more. So people are sort of, are part of these like algorithms on Twitter or YouTube or TikTok or Instagram or whatever, or Reddit, right? And as we enter these echo chambers, we start to become radicalized. And the more radicalized we become, the less empathic we become, which is also a result of technology. So
Oh,
people are sort of
yeah, that's facts. Because I was in an environment where it's like there was a feminist and all the wokeness, all that stuff. Like very like that's what she believed or they believe, a group of females. And I'm very traditional. But I'm real traditional. Like I'm real traditional. I'm not like these other guys who are along with would say, oh, I'm traditional, but then they really not when it comes to degeneracy and being promiscuous and all that stuff. So that's not being traditional. This is being false. But this really backlash, and I understood how even if you have these strong beliefs, arguing or discussing is going nowhere. It's more important to respect other people's opinions, and if you're just too different, just don't associate, but it doesn't mean you cannot be with a person in the same room. And to be honest, the more radicalized a person is, it does mean that for that person, unfortunately. And I felt that deeply, and I saw how me myself, even though I'm not as radical as other people are, I don't really like people feeling discomfort. Uh, so because of that, I you know, became respectful, and that's my ideas. I will never change my ideas. If you ask me, I steal my ideas, even if you can pressure me with the world, is still my ideas, my ideologies, everything I believe. But I'm not gonna be talking about it or discussing with persons who have different. It just doesn't make sense. It's just too much, emotions going.
of becoming more emotionally dysregulated. It's easy to trigger people, easy to piss people off. People are becoming a little bit more radicalized. Like, yeah, like if you believe in this, then screw you and I hate you and all these people are terrible, right? So the world is becoming more antagonistic, more
But
polemic.
if you really think now, because of the internet, everybody has their beliefs. Before was everybody just bluntly manipulated either by the government or the people more empowered than the government, the people empowered the banks and all that stuff. Before it was like that. Now it's like everybody has their different beliefs. And I think it's better because it makes some people more aware and more intelligent than others. Uh, but yeah, and before it was just everybody was dumb. You can literally look uh, at your parents at our age, and they still a lot of them are extremely like unaware and easily manipulated by news or whoever.
And human beings are becoming less empathic. So as human beings are struggling and as we're becoming more burnt out, the first thing that goes with burnout, the first sign of burnout is actually a lack of empathy or the loss of the capacity of empathy, which means that as the
And
world
I got
struggles.
to that. I genuinely got to that where it's like I was boxing and I was smoking and I was just, less empathetic, whereas just me focus on you and just improve and da da da. And now I'm getting to a point where it's like I'm before I was like if someone is training by my side, that presence is a burden, for whatever reasons. To be honest, to be completely honest, if I have a girl or the guy who's just training, it doesn't bother me. But if I have like, I just feel creepy energy, I'm already like annoyed by it. But in literally on the live that I did that now it got cut by half, I talk about it. But yeah, this is a thing where it's like you you if you get burdened by any presence in a public place or in this case a public gym, it doesn't make sense. It absolutely doesn't make sense because there will be people, and I see myself with that. Where it's like I'm walking and I go through a person. We exchange eyes, exchange the energies, and keep going. And then there's another person, and I'm already like tired. I was like, can I just walk with no disturbance? Just go home. Like I just came by some stuff. So even these, I know how I am like that, and I can feel the people presence like that. Where it's like everybody gets more disturbed just by other people presence, which shows how we do not feel safe. If you go deep into it, is basically that if you felt safe, if you felt like you are in a safe environment, seeing people, even though they are might not a threat. Look at me, I'm way more muscular, and in general taller than other people, and I get disturbed even if like a female because to be honest, I feel annoying because I see the presence and I can see like I can see through her eyes that she feels like excited by seeing me because she finds me attractive because I'm an attractive man, but it's annoying. But I have to, I genuinely feel like if you are like this, you have to go more, you have to go out more because staying in is just gonna get you more in this sense of like diva where it's like everything has to be how you want it, and that's not reality. Reality is there's multiple people living around you and the less disturbed you start getting to that and the more you can be on social environments, the better. I'm going to speak for myself. I'm antisocial and I go to the mall, eat, and I be to a bunch of people in school. The more I go, the more comfortable I am. The more I go, I go by foot, so I go through people, right? I hear people talking, all that stuff, and the more you do it, the less antisocial you get.
More as my own crap is taking up so much of my time, I have less time for you. And I hate to say this, but like it's true. People are getting worse. And we're both victims to this too. And this isn't just me saying like, oh, like, yeah, it's like everyone but
Yeah,
me and
we
you.
all getting worse. We cannot. Nobody can point the finger and be like, "Oh yeah, everybody." Like you included. We are all getting way worse. Uh, and with all this pollution, everybody like unhappy. Everybody's just work, 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 work. No social time. All stress, and nobody really socialize. Nobody has deep connections. Of course, everybody getting worse. I hope God will make us, live in peace once more. Uh, but a lot of people be telling that we are in the end of days, and if we are in the end of days, it means most people are going to have a hellish life, and some will be saved. Hopefully, I'm in that category, but I don't know. But again, we don't even know if that's true. I think we should work on our society and not in things that didn't happen in.
You, right? Like all the other humans suck, but like me and you are good. No, this is happening to me.
Yeah,
This is happening to you. It's happening to
yeah,
everybody, right? So it's
yeah,
harder for people to be decent human beings.
yeah.
That's one of the reasons you're antisocial. Like, let's call it what it is. But there's other stuff because you can't really do anything about that, right? But there isn't any utility to saying people just suck and that's why you're antisocial. Like, yeah, that's the end of the YouTube video. Now
But that's good because if you identify people suck, you suck too, and you suck because in every interaction that you have, it doesn't really go on deep connection, deep friendship or relationship because you are in blame too, and you have to be blind. You have to be blind to know that, relation a lot of relationship doesn't work, and nothing is your fault. I know bluntly well from just going to a new environment with full of people, and I start now I'm realizing like, okay, I fucked up these relations this way, I fucked up this relation this way, and all of it, some was like fuck it, was piece of shit people, but and others were like generally I got to my brain, I start judging about something that I and because of my past traumas, past bad relationships, I judge that okay, this person is not a good match, and I might like waste that opportunity to have a deeper connection, and a lot of times choosing the person wrong, like there's one right, and you kind of know that person is right, you feel more calm, you feel better with that person, and then there's one is wrong, and you want to try to work with that and that doesn't go along, and then the other person is just not interested no more, or it is, but you know but definitely both, we all in fault, man, and we all suck. We all suck nowadays.
Go out and what exactly? Like, no, no, no. So that's the one thing that we have to acknowledge has become objectively harder. But there are actually a lot of things that you can do to better tolerate those things and improve your enjoyment of social interactions.
I need to find the best way to learn math and science.
It's brilliant.org.
Whoa.
Okay. So let's start with the biggest one. Or not the biggest one, but just one. The one that came to my mind first. Okay. So, one of the things that really sabotages social interaction is ego and comparison. So, if we literally look at what you do when you hang out with other human beings, you can be engaged with them, right? So, if we're like all talking about, let's say, like politics, right? And it's a lively discussion. But the moment that your mind starts making comparisons, you enjoy the social interaction less. So, if we're talking about politics, but someone else is over there and I'm like, oh my God.
This is true, but it goes both way, because it's like, for one side, if you start comparing and you see people as inferior, you will that person inferior eventually. Eventually, you will start treating that person as inferior, because that's how you sense that person is. And if you sense he's superior, eventually you're gonna start treating that person as superior, and then he or she knows or thinks that she or he now is superior than you and you are inferior, and that's just a cycle, right? So to be honest, I genuinely feel like either that comparison can go really bad, but at the same time, it's like, why does we compare? What's the use of comparison? We know that the five friends that we have, and this is a metaphor, but it's true. The five friends that we have is the person who you're going to become. So if you are with someone who's maybe a loser, uh, more dismotivated than you, less effort, liar, a snake, overall like a piece of shit. Like I'm very bad at choosing other words, man. But it's just low level. Then you associate with that person in having like being more time with that person, you're gonna become more of that. So if you are like here and he or she is like here, for you to become friends or have a connection, both need to compromise. So you're gonna go down. That's why I have comparison. That's why you at the same time is either, in my opinion, the person is gonna be serious, and that's why I hate liars. But unfortunately, there's we all lie, but there's a difference between like someone who's you do a lie to excuse, or you do a lie bluntly, where it's like you're gonna get catch on that, and it's a serious lie, and that's a problem. So yeah, man, it's like either the person's want to try to rise, and you see their effort, and so you respect, or the person just shows that that person is lazy, or that person is full of shit, so you the only option is to go here, or you just gonna start becoming resentful because that person lied to you, and the relationship will break, because you're gonna start acting as as people say, as a bitch, regardless of your gender. you're gonna start treating the person bad because now you feel like this person is a piece of shit. And I could give examples of that, but I feel like everybody has one. So
God, that person is like making such great points, and that person is so articulate. Oh my God, they're so articulate. And I'm not articulate. I sound like a buffalo. Like, oh my God. So suddenly this politics discussion, which may have been a train wreck, but we were all kind of enjoying, has become worse because my mind has started to make a comparison. You can also do this with all kinds of other comparisons. Any comparison that you make in a social interaction is going to damage your enjoyment of the social situation. Oh my God, like me and my homie are talking to these two girls, but my homie is taller than I am and he's sexier than I am. And then instead of like enjoying talking to these
yeah,
two girls, I
that's
get
gonna make you insecure. But again, this is the part where you are analyzing the wrong way, because if you are being like that, it means that you pedestalize these two females. I have to stop saying this. You pedestalize these two women, or these two girls, and that's why, because you are becoming insecure, because like I really want them, and if I compare with my friend, he has better genetics. That's basically what he is talking. Better looks, better, taller. If his physique is your fault, because you should be working out harder, and let's go into that. But that's basically your focus, regardless of you being a man or a woman, should be, do I, let me see if I can connect with these two women in this case, because it's his example, but if it was a woman, two men, and let's see if you have the same, if I like them, we have the same values, we have the same ideologies, we are similar in some sense. Instead of just jumping to, oh, I just really want them, and an animalistic, instinctive way, go see, am I, is this person enough for me to a relationship? If not, you, it is a waste of my time, right? So go search into that first before you get anxious, because these two people could not even be interesting to you once you start really having a conversation with them. So that's the focus. Start to evaluate, is that, if the people that you're going to talk are somewhat of interest, or you could see yourself long term, not in a childish way, where it's like, oh yeah, like she's so beautiful, not in a simple way, but genuinely in, okay, we have the same values, we are similar in this, we are equal in that. You start sensing that, oh, we are very similar. um, and I always go to the values, because if a lot of people have bad values, man. So don't see a thing similar and then not look to the values, because I'm telling you, you, that person can break your heart just by that, because people have no values. They are snakes. There's a reason why the Bible always talks bad about snakes and say how you get manipulated by snakes, because snakes, you know, they really gonna bite, and that's not what you want.
trapped in my own head. I start making comparisons, and then I'm not enjoying myself. So watch out for comparisons that you make when socializing. First of all, they don't do any good, right? Because what are you like? What's the point of making that comparison in that moment? So that they don't really help us in any way. All they help us do is feel inferior, usually. And the second way that they sabotage our social interactions is now we are in our head instead of.
And I genuinely feel like, let's continue, but I genuinely feel like this guy hasn't come to this resolution that I just told you, because you cannot, okay, I'm not gonna compare. It's impossible. You're always gonna compare, and that's why there's a king, that's why there's a noble, that's why there's a, a common man or a common woman. We are different. We are different. Nobody's better than other. We all should live happily, and all should have our necessities met, and all should like have a good life, of course. But we are different in the end of the day. Okay, you not comparing is kind of impossible. So you have to change focus, as I told you.
engaging in the social interaction. And anytime I'm in my head, I'm not going to enjoy the socialization. So if we really pay attention, you can be enjoying yourself in a social interaction. And the moment that you start comparing, that enjoyment will literally get shattered. So what do we do about this? The most important thing is to catch it, right? Notice when your mind starts going off on that comparison track. And this is what's kind of weird. We made a video about the science of willpower, and it turns out that awareness of something and controlling and suppressing that thing come hand in hand. Literally, the part of your brain that is aware of things is the same part of your brain that controls it. So as you become aware of something, its power literally diminishes in your brain. So if you can catch yourself making the comparison, your mind will automatically...
That's why meditation is so good. There's way more reasons, but meditation is a must. Guys, put every day, do mindfulness meditation, focus on the breath. You can 5 minutes because it is something like a skill you have to improve. But I do 30 minutes now, but I start with 5, then 10, then I'm going up.
decrease the
And
level
it's
of...
not like in a day for the next day you're already ready. It's like months of practice. And you yourself know, okay, I feel like I can do it a little bit more. Or today I did too much. Let me go back to how I used to do, where I feel more comfortable. And that as you get more accustomed, you go in one more minute, 2 more minutes, you know.
Of comparison that you'll make. That may take a little while, but it'll absolutely happen over time. And the beauty of this is as you stop comparing, you will start to enjoy the social interaction a little bit more. You will be more engaged. You'll get that positive feedback, and then you will feel less antisocial. It'll be more fun. That's the point, right? So be careful about comparison. Now, the second thing that's going on is super interesting, is relatively new. Comparison has existed for the history of humanity. This is something that's really, really new. There's something weird that happens. Nowadays, when we socialize, up until the moment that we start socialization, we're on a device. We're usually engaged in technology in some way. And that is having a really interesting effect. So anytime I'm using technology, when I stop using the technology, my internal emotional state becomes worse. So if y'all have kids and you have someone who stops using their device, if you take your iPad away from the kid or you tell them to turn off the video game, the first thing that happens is they become really, really grumpy and cranky. You may have noticed this in yourself or your significant other, that when you're...
That's an addiction. When you have an addiction, how we talking before, like it's like a demon. When you have an addiction, then if they took that is something that you feel like you need, you start getting like angry. It's just like somebody take your food and say, "Oh, you're not gonna eat no more." You're gonna start like getting angry and trying to fight that. Is your animalistic sense. So you have to be aware of, I'm addicted, and if I was not, stopping something would not be so like uh painful.
done playing a video game, or if someone stops you from playing a video game, anytime the technology stops, you don't feel emotionally great, right? Like if you've been playing like fucking queuing up for something for 8 hours at a stretch, you don't end that and you're like, man, I feel amazing. I'm ready to go have some fun today. No, you just feel awful at the end of technology. So what's going on there? So we know that basically all of the engaging technologies suppress our amygdala and our limbic system. So our limbic system is our emotional circuitry. And if you kind of think about it, like if I'm having a bad day and I start scrolling through TikTok, then what's going to happen? That it's going to kind of numb out the bad day that I'm having, right? For the next 15 minutes, like I'm kind of lost in this dopaminergic kind of whatever. It's not really super fun, so it's not entirely dopaminergic, but my negative emotions go away. So there's a really interesting principle in the brain, which is that when we have something that is suppressing a part of the brain and we take that away, what we experience is a neuroscientific rebound. So as soon as you take the device away from the kid, they get more cranky than they would have been if the device ever touched them in the first place. When we've been playing video games for a while, we feel grumpier, less motivated, a little bit angrier, a little bit more anxious. All the negative emotions rise up. This is a neuroscientific rebound effect. So now let's understand what this has to do with socialization. So if I socialize with people for 1 hour, and I've been using technology up until that point, the second I stop the technology, the negative emotional rebound effect starts to kick in my brain. And for the first hour that I interact with people, I will literally enjoy myself less because of that emotional crankiness post technology.
We know that being sex addicted, having you having too much orgasms, being every or even like a bunch of times in a week, it does the same. The conversations that you're gonna make you feel good, now you just feel like it's boring. So be aware that this is also very hijacking your emotions. That's why that's not only the reason why it's so bad, but that's one of the reasons for sure why it's so bad.
So now what's going on is your assessment of how fun is it to hang out with other people
Yeah.
is actually being messed up by this neuroscientific rebound of negative emotion post technology. So instead of being able to enjoy 1 hour with someone, the first hour that you step away from technology, it's actually like hard to have fun with them. And y'all know what I'm talking about if you've ever been in the scenario where you go to a party, right? You're like going to a party and you don't really know what to say. You're kind of hanging out and you're like, you don't really feel great. You feel a little bit anxious. You're like, no one's really talking to me. You say hi to a couple people. Maybe you grab a drink. And then like you're kind of feeling anxious and 30 minutes in, no one's really talking to you. So you pull out your phone. And then suddenly you feel better, right? You're kind of like, oh my God, I don't like being here. Now I'm the loser who's sitting on the corner.
Yeah, bro, that's
In the
real.
corner on their phone, but like that's all you kind of know how to do. And
That's real, and that's why, to be honest, you are introverted. I generally like to be honest, I am like that too, but that means you are an introverted person. Even that I'm going to for myself, even when I have I have people I know and I have around them, that it gets to a point where it's like you talking too much, and not because he's not interesting, is because you're as an introvert person, you need some time alone just to, you know, your energy levels of socializing, it really needs goes down as you socialize and rise up as you have your alone time. It's not like extroverts who's always there and never close down, and yeah. But in this case where you just you don't belong to a group, I don't think you should be there. I wouldn't be there, and I'd be in a situation like that. That's why I say like I prefer not even being there, bro. And even people who are new that they were not associating with me at that situations, and now when I start doing boxing, they learn I started doing boxing. They now want to hang out. Now they want to hang out because now I'm strong and I can protect them. I was like, of course I didn't even text back or said nothing because I don't do fakes. Uh, but yeah, man, for me, it's just if you are in a group situation and you don't have people you trust there, I don't feel like it's the best environment. Uh, and then it's up to you if you want to try other groups, organizations. I think eventually we end up doing that too, see if we can belong in somewhere. But I cannot really give the best advice because I had no find. So
that makes you feel a little bit less anxious, right? It's a coping mechanism because now you're at least like looking at cat pictures on the internet. And this is exactly what happens. So one of the key things to understand is that part of the reason that social activity isn't fun is because we are using technology right before we start engaging in social activity. And what that ends up doing is sabotaging our enjoyment of the social activity. Once we sabotage the enjoyment of the social activity once, twice,
but
three
again,
times,
if you don't know nobody and you don't have no connection, you are not having social activity. So just being there, standing, like it's not gonna do anything, bro. I think that's what I think at least. Maybe I'm wrong.
then what happens? Our brain learns. Our brain learns that, hey, we've gone out and
That's real. Like just yesterday, I wasn't with my phone because I was tired of computer phone, and I was just get outside and I was just like there in nature, standing, seeing people go in the cars and stuff. And I can say for real that the more you see social, like for example, if you are in a classroom, the more you see socialized interactions, the more you can understand it, which can be good and bad. The good is like you learn, the bad is you start seeing that people are very moral a lot of times, and you know That's on me. I like to think, and I definitely I'm not perfect. I'm no angel. I'm human, 100%. And some people will say that I'm not that good at people, maybe in their perspectives. But in mind, I read the Bible, I pray, I have these values and these vows, and I cannot see snakes and fakes. Something bothers me a lot.
Hung out with people 3 times, and it is not
And
fun.
unfortunately, most people are like, most extroverts, in my opinion, they are like that from what I saw in my life.
Every time we do it. And then what happens is
Not
it will
necessarily snakes, but fakes a lot of times, man. That's why you see the popular kid. I was like that. The popular kid who really doesn't have no friends, but know a lot of people, are in a lot of like parties and all that stuff. But in reality, who do you trust? Nobody. And it shows, that's the reality. And I learned from that. The more popular you get, the more you see that people are bluntly fake, and their friends that you had when you are not popular, they are the ones that you should have like stick all along on.
decrease your motivation to socialize because you're
Another
like,
thing is like I can say that we stop, from my experience, we stop socializing certain people. Oh, I don't associate no more. I don't like this. But is very like we are judging when you have a lot of bad things too, and there's no perfect person. The people that I exchange or substitute and thought that was such a great idea, I regret it. I cannot say 100% of time, but I just, in my brain, when I think it is 100%. I cannot think one time that I did a mistake when I was like, oh, I left this person to hang out with this other person, and there wasn't a mistake. All the time, bro. Stick with the ones that are real, are trustworthy, even though you might have some things that you don't associate so much, or the other person seems just a better fit. One thing is if you don't have nothing to correlate. Like I know a guy who, for the second time, he has sent me like, "Oh, good year. The one if you want to hang out." It's like we don't have nothing, absolutely nothing in common. We don't feel no connections when we're talking. And I'm saying as friends. I'm straight, okay? So for those who, I think other things, but we don't have no connection. We have no. We are not friends. We are not friends, bro. And I saw him doing some snake stuff, but even without that, it was genuinely just like we went to drink beers and talk, and I didn't trust him. He didn't. Power up. To be honest, people don't like you, and they will hang out with you just to not be alone, and that's crazy to me, but it's real, and that's one of the person. So I just was not there. Like I don't even respond because like we don't like each other. You know what I mean? And this happens a lot where it's just, especially in relationships, we see in relationships where two people don't like each other. They don't like each other, and they are just together because they don't want to be alone. And I kind of get it, but at the same time, it's like, are y'all trying to improve the relationship, or you're just staying with the both don't like each other and nothing changed and you both hate your life? Like for me, that doesn't make sense.
socialization isn't fun. Where did that conclusion come from? That conclusion came from a emotionally withdrawing brain trying to engage in socialization. So what is the solution to this? My favorite solution, if y'all want a
Damn.
real one that is
Now
hard,
we talk about, and this is real. Like we talk about this stuff, and the more I'm getting, like I feel I'm getting better and getting off these addictions that I used to have. I just get to a point where it's like I started thinking real as relation, or people who are really get along with things were a match, and I just ruin it. And sometimes it was my mistake, sometimes it was the other person's mistake, maybe both, if you go deep into it. But is an L, bro. Is an L. I really took as, because my life was always traveling, house to house, place to place, school to school. I never really value or not that I don't value, I did value, but I just saw it's gonna end eventually, so I didn't like put too much value on the relationship. And to be honest, I know a person who things could get really well since we were teenagers, and it just got messed up, and it is unfortunate because that type of energy that we had, I really don't see nobody all through these years go by. Like people are not that like similar. We are very like we're very different. I don't think we should waste, when things are going well, because then you're gonna go through life and it's gonna see so many interactions and no one is just fitting right, and you're gonna think like, damn, I really missed out on that one.
Hard is walk for an hour before you engage in social activity and do not use technology. So ideally abstain from technology for about an hour before you engage with people. But it is even better if you go for a walk. And this is where people are saying like, okay, what about podcasts or what about music? Ideally none of it. Just be with yourself for a little while.
Music is bad, bro. Music is so intense. The beats is just making your brain go all out. So music is 100% a drug, and is a way people cope with stuff once more, just like any other drug. But music is very bad if you want to detox all the stimulation to be more calm and ready to have a socialization.
Go for a walk.
And once more, if it works for you, if you hear the music and then you're like, I'm ready, let's go. Great for you, man. It really depends on the person.
And ideally for an hour, depending on where you live. You may not be able to do that, may not be safe, whatever. The key is to try to avoid technology for 1 hour before you socialize with people. That'll like kind of calm your brain down. And then once your brain is a little bit calmer, you will be able to engage with people and you will actually enjoy it more. The last thing that we're
So, I'm 35, I live in Europe, and I want to invest 10,000 euros. What are my options?
going to talk a little bit about are a few more concrete tips to actually increase your enjoyment of social interactions. So I found that a lot of people who are antisocial take a back seat in social interactions, right? They're the extroverts, and the extroverts are running the show. And so what I have to do is like be kind of like a passive recipient because all the social people are figuring out what to do. I'm kind of an outsider. I can't direct anything. No one's going to listen to me. And that is a huge mistake because once you let the extroverts start running the show, they're going to take the conversation and start doing things that are going to make you feel uncomfortable. So I know it sounds kind of paradoxical, but if you want to enjoy social activities more, you need to advocate for moving things in the right direction. So here's a list of questions which I kind of enjoy asking that sort of get the ball rolling, right? So first question that I tend to ask people is, hey, like, is there anything you're excited about over the course of the next year? Or is there anything that you've been excited about over the last couple of months? Anything that you're looking forward to? So I do not ask the questions that are the standard questions. What do you do for a living? How old are you? Where are you from?
But that's useless questions. I understand because I was there when I was younger, where it's like you don't know what to say and you are nervous. But that's useless question. Do you really want to know these things? No. You don't care. You're gonna forget it in a bliss. And if somebody asks you, just responding to it is like is kind of awkward. I feel like a good thing is you have nothing to say, just don't say nothing, bro. Just don't say nothing. Because having useless questions is very obvious that you are very anxious. And, it might work. If a female did it to me, I was politely going to respond the same way and the conversation might go. But in general, I think as a man doing that, regardless of being to other men or to a woman, doesn't go well from personal experience. And seeing now from a third people perspective is just who cares? Like it's questions who nobody cares, including the person who's asking the question. So it's useless. And that's very bad. And that's why a lot of times, even in, when you see these dating apps, they're talking about, oh, the females don't respond to certain answers. And it's because of that. It's kind of boring. It's just same old, same old. And do a question if you really have something that you are curious about, not thinking, oh, we're not talking. oh my god, like we're not talking, empty space, this is awkward. No, like learn to relax, chill, you know. I don't recommend you, smoke a cigarette, drink a drink, but if that helps, just chill. And if you have something to say, even if it's like you just saw something that a bird or something that may interest you, and you say like, oh, uh, this is happen, or I really like this bird color, and you show your genuine way of being. Again, don't say this if you're not like that, but you show your genuine way of being, and now you can see if the person sees you more being you, he or she will engage with it. And females are extremely uh is like, when it comes to emotions, is like 10 times more intense to them. So if you are stressed, they sense that and they got stressed. And get newsflash, females are extremely more nervous when it goes to new socializations, okay? So, you know, you have to be the one that is more feeling more calm and stuff, more free and loose and stuff, because she will absorb the energy and go with that. So if you are like that, she will go with that. If you are tense, he can be really nice, but I guarantee you, she's not gonna feel tense. She wanna go away or make an excuse or whatever. You need to follow along. And now, another times like both are awkward, and I've been there too. And in these situations, I be honest, just try to work on yourself, but also be yourself, and maybe trying to socialize in other ways, because some people socialize well on messages, but other people go really bad and hate that stuff. I hate it. I hate it myself. I don't like to be messaging. I'm not a robot. I like to be a good person. But there are people who, they have huge conversations. Now again, as the guys, I have to be the big brother here. A lot of females will use you just to attention, and they will not want to have a date or be with you personally, because they just like that attention. So you have to make sure she's not using you. And this is it's hard, because now you want to make her feel comfortable, and y'all have already a connection, and now you're going to meet, and that might happen. That might be a scenario, but the other scenario is like she's just using you. It's never going to happen, wasting your time. So you have a bad and a good. But then, for if a female who is like more outgoing, and she's more, uh, feel more confident and stuff, she will go to the social interaction with you right away. But the other girl who's more introverted and she doesn't feel comfortable and she's scared of meeting you, she needs that, you know, uh, a little bit deeper connection through to the texting and all stuff. And that goes when it's not, it starts there. But it depends on the person. So you have to really analyze. And if you're already, you know, talking nice and having good conversations, you already had a good conversation, or twice, and that's one, two, twice, three maximum. You can already go and ask, because if you hold too much, then it's not going to happen. Even if you ask at the fifth conversation, that's too late. Okay, but if she's like cool with that, you sense she's already comfortable, and she refuses, and you can sense that that's an excuse, that's not a real reason, that's an excuse, cut it, because she probably financing you.
What kind of video games do you like? I don't ask any of those questions about their interests. Why? Because those questions become interviews. Where are you from? I'm from Massachusetts. Period. And now you're like, what do you do in Massachusetts? I'm a biotech engineer. Period.
Yeah, that's another thing. People don't like, this is genuine. People don't like to think. If you want someone when socialize, just want to chill, just be good, and you can have conversations, but it's not mandatory. And if you are doing like this type of questions, the person has to think. Where are you from? Let me think. I'm from here. Boom. What do you do? I'm doing this too. And it feels like you are in work. In work, you have to respond to stuff, and you don't want to be in work. You want to be socialized. You want to be chilling. So that's another reason why it's so makes people so like uncomfortable and just want to get out of the situation.
What do you do for fun? I watch sports and I go clamming in the ocean. Cool. Right? Do you see how like those questions, which by the way are
Yeah,
like
but this is old, right? Like I understand that when I was younger, and maybe for the kids that they are younger now, but in general, if you're still doing this, it's kind of like, where have you been in the last 5 years?
and from an era when we were trying to like socially rank people, right? That's why we ask all those questions. Like I get asked all those questions by
It's a very
Indian
long
aunties and
video.
uncles like all the time. Like, oh, what are you doing? Are you doctor? Are you a doctor? Okay, let me give you +5. Okay, now I respect you more because you have a profession. You are artist. Hare Bhagwan. Ew, you're artist? Oh my God, that's -20. No, we can't do that. Oh, doctor, where did you go to school? Oh, Harvard? Oh my God, that's +20. Oh my God, so sexy, right? That's why we ask these stupid questions. And these stupid questions make
This
people
is woman in general, though.
feel embarrassed or make people feel proud. So you don't want to be asking those questions. Instead, ask people what they're interested in, what they've been doing recently. Like, actually, don't ask what you've been doing recently, because sometimes people are like, I've been sitting at home playing video games for 3 months. So instead, ask them, hey, is there anything you're looking forward to, or what do you think about something that's going on? So you can ask them a little bit about current events, but you want to ask what's interesting. What are you looking forward to? What was the last year like for you? That's a nice open-ended question without a positive direction. What was the last year like for you? Is there anything that you're looking forward to or anything that you hope will happen over the next year? And then ask follow-up questions based on that. And then you also want to pay attention and kind of give them a chance to ask you questions. But the other thing that you can do is when you ask them a question, if they give you an answer, you can sort of offer your own perspective, right? So if they say something like, oh yeah, what I'm really hoping for next year is to like get a stable job. And that's where you can empathize and you can say, brah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah,
Right. So I was like in and out of things for about 2 years and finally
still
stuff started settling down. Like I didn't know what I was doing for a while, but I feel so grateful that like it seems sorted and like I hope things work out for you too. Right. So you can offer your own kind of perspective without them necessarily asking. So you want to steer the conversation in ways that you feel a little bit more comfortable. You can also talk about things that are like hot button issues, which I think is okay. So you can ask people about politics. I know everyone's like, oh my God, don't talk about politics.
again, this is problem. Don't talk is like, imagine this is real. It's like you are the opposite of person. Why are you wasting your time just like trying to not talk about that when it's gonna be talk eventually if you really find a real connection? And then what? You think the leftists are run by demon people, and she thinks that the rights are like trying to slow things and going back how it was, and that's bad, and you think that's good. It's going to be a mess. And yes, you can say as the connection goes deeper, people look past that, and some people do, and that's great. I think you should. And a lot of times, you know depending on the person, the female will go follow you more, or the different side. But if you start following the female more, she gonna respect you less, by the way. So don't do that. But it can go to huge arguments, but if he goes there, you already know what type of person you are dealing with. Is not the type of person you want to continue interacting. Very simple. Then I really regret not buying the things. It's like some little things that I like to eat, man. It's not healthy, but I really like them. Should have bought it. I can still buy it, but I don't want to leave the live now. And it's already like, yeah, and I'm not gonna leave the live now.
Don't talk about politics at work, but with other human beings that like really engages them, and it can be really fun. So here's the other cool thing about when you do something like
Yeah,
this.
when you have the same um, when you have the same like the same values, it's like, oh, he's a comrade. And that's cool. But make sure that person really has the same values, because as I told you guys, I know a person who has said that exactly that has the same values, all that, and then as I was spending more time with that person, I just saw how there was a huge lie. There was a huge lie, and people prove with actions, not words. So if you really are conservative, what you don't do is masturbate, man. That's weak. And again, this is being judgmental, but it shouldn't. It's bad for you, bad for your health, spiritually, mentally, and literally physical.
A lot of people who are antisocial are worried about how to get into the conversation, right? So they're like, people are talking back and forth, and you're like, how do I butt in? The cool thing is when you start a conversation, you can shut up for the rest of it, and everyone will perceive you as a part of the conversation because you got the ball rolling. You're like running the show. You're like at the head of the table.
Okay.
It's super cool.
See.
If you like being quiet and you don't know how to butt into conversations, what you should do is start the conversation, because then it's check mark, we're done. It's awesome. I love it as an introvert who doesn't like talking, okay?
If you're ready to take the next step on your mental health journey, check out Dr. K's Guide. It's an immersive resource that distills over 20 years of my experience, laid out in a way that is tailored to your needs. So if you're ready to better understand your mind and take control of it, check out the link in the description below.
The last tip
I'm a software engineer at Amazon, and I learned how to code on Udemy.
that we're going to give you,
To be honest, usually I'm not interested in anything that's selling on internet, but this sounds like, interesting.
which is the most painful of them all, is for you to be a social butterfly if you are antisocial. Now, this is where a lot of people get confused because they're like, wait, aren't extroverts social butterflies? Yeah, they can be, but if you're an introvert and if you're antisocial,
What is
you
it?
need to be a social butterfly for 6 months. And here's the reason why. If you're antisocial or introverted, chances are you are more selective with who you hang out with. Hell, the reason we're here in the first place
100%.
is because you don't like hanging out with the average person, right?
Yeah.
So then the problem, we run into a really interesting problem when it comes to our brain and reinforcement, which is that if I don't like hanging out with the average person and I force myself to socialize with like 3 people and I don't have a good time, what is my brain going to be telling me? It's going to be telling me, hey, we attempted this behavior and we got punished for it. Therefore, we are not
Wait a minute, guys.
going to reinforce the behavior. We are not going to increase our motivation towards socialization because when we tried to do it, it was painful. We're not going to do it again.
This is my experience, but for me, it's like hang out with people who you just feel comfortable. Conversation you feel comfortable, that's a good person to hang out. If you don't feel comfortable, don't hang out with that person. That's what I do.
So then what happens is we don't socialize for a couple months, and then we get lonely, and then the loneliness gets so big that we force ourselves to socialize. But already at the beginning, my brain is like, oh my God, I can't believe I have to do this again, right? That's what it does. So instead, what you really need to do is be a social butterfly. And why? It's not because you're trying to...
And for me, not being social made me be an influencer. So you might try that out too and see if it works for you. I start with videos, and after a year or 2, I start doing lives. And I like when people comment. I like when people interact.
like make 100 friends. What you're trying to do is meet 100 people so you can find the most tolerable 5 human beings that you actually enjoy hanging out with. The other advantage of doing something like this is like you're just telling yourself, okay, for 6 months, stuff is going to suck. I'm going to try to meet as many people as possible. And when you're trying to figure out what should I do, ask yourself, will this lead to meeting more people, right? So and this can be something as simple as, but I only have my group of friends. Like, how do I get them to introduce me to more people? Anytime you have an activity with your core group of friends, you can literally ask them, hey, is there anyone else that you'd like to invite, right? So anytime you make plans or you're following up with someone, just ask them, is there anyone else that you'd like to invite? Is there anyone else that you think would enjoy what we're doing? So you're actually asking because you know 5 people. One of the people that you're inviting knows 5 more people. So even a cluster of introverts who can barely tolerate each other, if you use this technique, you will get connected to way more people. And the point of being a social butterfly is to not be a social butterfly forever. It's fucking exhausting. It's to try to meet as many people as you can so you can select the 5% of them that you find tolerable and enjoyable. But it has to come with a period of robust social activity. And this is a little bit like a chicken or egg problem. And a good analogy of this is like, I hate going to the gym because I'm out of shape. Well, like, that's true, right? But the way to enjoy going to the gym is to start getting in shape so it's not so damn painful all the time. So there's this like early period, which is a little bit of a bruiser. And in my experience, really encouraging people to like socialize a ton over a brief period of time. And what you're doing is you're not there just to like have a good time. You're there to try to figure out, okay, who out of this do I actually want to hang out with in 6 months? I'm going to try to find 5 friends in 6 months that I enjoy hanging out with. And that is how you become less antisocial. The real tragedy in the world today is that everyone is becoming increasingly lonely, and also people are starting to suck more. And as a result, it's not fun to socialize. It's just not as enjoyable for us. And if we really want to fix this problem and get out of the cycle of I'm so damn lonely, let me force myself to socialize. Oh my God, this was awful. I can't wait to be at home again. This cycle, we get stuck in this cycle between abject loneliness, desperation, and socialization. If we want to break this cycle, what we really need to do is have more fun in social situations. But this isn't just like, oh, just have more fun, bruh. This is where if we understand why we don't enjoy those social situations, we can actually fix those problems and you will literally start having more fun in social situations. And once you start having fun socializing, then fixing loneliness becomes way easier.
Good video, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you guys learned something or at least improve a little bit your day by watching the video.